Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Winter Fairy Journal. Today we will be decorating some pages. So I'm going to just explain to you the way that I do this. If you have an easier way of doing this, that's perfectly fine. So my plan is to have a clear window here with a flower on the inside, like I did with my most recent journal, Grace. So for that, you're going to need 3 pieces of paper if you want to do it the way that I'm going to do it. So this one will be the size of your window, like the part that you can see through. So this is the part that you'll use to cut out. I usually just use a pencil and then I just trace it out and then I cut it out with my craft knife. Then you're going to need one that is slightly bigger than your window rectangle, and that is the size that your whole thing will be. So I use acetate that I just put against each other with double-sided tape, and then I just glue the flower down with tiny dots of glue. You can still see it drying there. So what that will do is, so this will be the size that you cut your acetate to, or if you have a laminator, that is the size that you'll cut that sheet to. And then this is the size that the window will be. So make sure that however big your flower is, it will fit into this window. And then you'll need another piece, and this piece should fit into your page. Just make sure it fits into your page. And then this will be what we'll use to cover the edges. I know it sounds strange, but it will make sense. And then we'll also just use our window rectangle to cut out of that. So I'm just going to start, and then if you have any questions or would like me to explain this more, please just let me know in the comments. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing, if you don't have a craft knife, I just use a box cutter. I won't argue that a craft knife will probably work better, but if you don't have that, this just works perfectly fine. Okay, I've cut my pieces out, and I just did it off camera so that I don't make this video as long as last week's one. I prefer to keep them below 30 minutes. So you need 2 pieces of this size, and that is the biggest one size with the little window cut out of it, like so. And I will show you why, and this will hopefully explain it a bit better. So that when you put, oh, and I also cut out this window on this page. So the middle rectangle size is basically just for your acetate or your laminator sheet. So the reason I do it like this is when you put your window over that, and then you cover it with this, it's completely covered. And then this one is just for the other side. Like that. It's a bit skew now, but this is just so you can see what I mean. Like so. So the thing that I need to tell you as well, if you do use a box cutter, it does tear the edges up a little bit. I like that. I think it looks kind of rustic, and it matches those edges then that I tear with the ruler. But if you don't like that, you can also just use a scissors and just finely cut that out. I inked my edges. If you do ink your edges, on the inside frame, you need to ink this side and the other side. Same on this side. You need to ink here and here. On the outside edge, you can just ink the front part, and then with this part too, I also ink this side and this side, just in case other pieces show that it will still look old as well. So I'm going to stick this on now. I will stick the acetate on with my double-sided tape, and then once that's glued down with the double-sided tape, I will put double-sided tape over this as well so that it can adhere nicely to our paper. But I will also put a thin line of glue on the outside edge of this paper as well. Hope that makes sense. Okay, I really like that. So you can see it from both sides. Unfortunately, I see my window has a little bit of dust up there. So just make sure that your acetate or whatever you're using is clear before you glue it down or before you attach it to each other with the double-sided tape. And something I also did off camera a while ago actually is I glued down all my corner clusters just because I did it randomly, but I haven't glued down the other clusters we made, the smaller ones. So what I will do off camera as well a bit later after I filmed this video is I'm going to sew some lace onto here. My sewing machine's upstairs and I can't film there, so unfortunately I can't show you, but I'll sew some lace onto here and maybe even a little bit of ribbon, and then maybe I'll put one of my clusters either down here or up there, one of the smaller ones that I made, like this one perhaps. That would look nice either down here or up there. I'll just have to see. It might not even be this one, there might be another one. But that will be it for, oh no, this is not it. I almost forgot the other thing I wanted to do. I'm just gonna get my supplies. Next, we will be adding our scrappy notebook onto our page with a belly band. So I just made a quick one here. What you can do is you need to take your piece of paper and then just measure it around this, but make it so that it's still a little bit loose so that it can go into there easily. And then for my embellishment, I just took one of my labels and then for an extra layer, just a little bit of book paper. I'm just quickly going to glue that onto there. I didn't think I said this, and you may know this as well, but for the flaps, just cut off little corners. Then I'm just going to glue it onto the page. Now I'm just going to measure how far I want this part to go in there. Now I'm just going to leave this part to dry and then I'll come back later to measure how far I want it to go down. So I'm just going to put this aside for now. Okay, I really like that. So you can see it from both sides. Unfortunately, I see my window has a little bit of dust up there. So just make sure that your acetate or whatever you're using is clear before you glue it down or before you attach it to each other with the double-sided tape. And something I also did off camera a while ago actually is I glued down all my corner clusters just because I did it randomly, but I haven't glued down the other clusters we made, the smaller ones. So what I will do off camera as well a bit later after I filmed this video is I'm going to sew some lace onto here. My sewing machine's upstairs and I can't film there, so unfortunately I can't show you, but I'll sew some lace onto here and maybe even a little bit of ribbon, and then maybe I'll put one of my clusters either down here or up there, one of the smaller ones that I made, like this one perhaps. That would look nice either down here or up there. I'll just have to see. It might not even be this one, there might be another one. But that will be it for, oh no, this is not it. I almost forgot the other thing I wanted to do. I'm just gonna get my supplies. Next, we will be adding our scrappy notebook onto our page with a belly band. So I just made a quick one here. What you can do is you need to take your piece of paper and then just measure it around this, but make it so that it's still a little bit loose so that it can go into there easily. And then for my embellishment, I just took one of my labels and then for an extra layer, just a little bit of book paper. I'm just quickly going to glue that onto there. I don't think I said this, and you may know this as well, but for the flaps, just cut off little corners. Then I'm just going to glue it onto the page. Now I'm just going to leave this part to dry, and then I'll come back later to measure how far I want it to go down. So I'm just going to put this aside for now. I think it's dry enough now. I'm just going to carefully put it in there. So this is where I have to see where I want the notebook to sit on my page. And I think that's a good spot for it. So now I know I need to glue this part down. Okay, now I'm just going to leave it to dry. Now we're going to make our push and pull waterfall. So if you're using the same sizes as I am, then you can just follow these directions exactly. You might have to adjust it a little if you're using a little bit bigger cards. I will be using these 4 cards that are 2 by 3 inches, and I just added a little bit of lace at the bottom. I did scan them and put them into the add-on kit, so if you haven't gotten that yet, you can just go and get it there. But if you'd like to use something else too, that's perfectly fine. I just want to give you that option. So the first thing you'll need is a strip of paper. Now it is 2 inches wide, so exactly as wide as the cards that you'll be using, but it is 8 inches long. So what you'll have to do is the first piece will have to be exactly as big as your card. So you see the first piece is 3 inches long, and then however many pieces you're using, I just added 1/4 inch for each one of that. And then if you fold it in half, they should be equal in length. So that's the easiest way I can explain that. Then you'll also need a strip of paper. So how I measured that is I just folded it around my bottom piece. That's how you measure that out. I will be sticking it onto the bottom though, and then I just have little flaps that I can glue down. Then I have 2 pieces of paper here that I'm going to use as writing space. So this one I will put here, and then the other one I'm going to put down here. This is the page that I'll be using for this. And then I've just got this extra piece of paper to put here just for some color variation, because these 2 colors are so similar. So just to give some, a little bit of variety there. You don't have to do that though, that's obviously completely optional. So what we're going to start with, now I'm just going to speed this part up. So I'm going to glue this down. I'm going to glue these cards onto here, and then I'm going to glue this part on as well, and then glue my writing spaces on. Please let me know if you have any questions or if I'm being unclear. This is my first time ever explaining how to do this mechanism, but I am more than happy to go more into detail. I just let that glue for a while, but this is basically what it looks like. It is quite bulky, so it will add some to the journal, but I'm fine with that. In order to test this, just hold the bottom part and then the back part, and then just hold them against each other and pull it to make sure if it works. And I really like how that works. I think it's pretty cool. I also went and made a quick tab. You could use one from the kit, but they are a little bit too small for me for this purpose, so they won't work so well. So all I do is I have a rectangle. Once you fold it, I have a rectangle. Then I use my corner punch and I punch out these corners, and then my circle punch and I just cut out tiny corners there, and then that's just a tag shape. I'm just going to glue it onto there. So unfortunately my tab goes a little bit over my writing space, but that's okay, it's not so bad. It'll just look like this basically once it's fully pulled out, but that's all right. And what I'm going to do a little bit later, because I don't have it with me, this little tab here and on the back is going to catch when you try and pull it in and out. So I'm going to put a bit of washi tape over there. You can also use sellotape. And then I'm also going to punch a hole in here, put an eyelet through, and then put a ribbon through that. But right now we can glue this onto our page. So I'm just going to attach glue to these parts here and then glue them onto the page. This is completely dry now, and I'll show you how it works. And look at that, I just love that. And this isn't catching at all, my tab, but I did use a very thin paper, like very old book paper from 1914. So normally I use cardstock and then it will definitely catch, but I'm not going to attach washi tape this time because it's perfectly fine. I will still be making my hole, putting my eyelet and ribbons through there. What I'll be doing next is I'm going to decorate these 3 pages. Unfortunately, my glue, ruffled the page a little bit. So luckily I made this one a tuck. Let's see if I can push something in there. I made this one a tuck, so I'm going to push a piece of paper in here underneath so you can cover this. And then on these 2, I have just some small pieces of scrapbook paper. They're just some pretty paper. It's not included in the kit, and unfortunately I can't scan it, but I do have these linked in my description that I got them on Amazon. So I just tore some corners off of it, and this is basically what I'll be doing with it. And I'll just put a piece of blank paper on here as well, do some stamping and use some stickers. I'm also gonna ink everything. Okay, as you can see, I've also added a ribbon to this to just hold it down. Just be very careful when you put the ribbon on those so that the glue only adheres to the piece of paper and not to the back of these cards itself. So for now, I'm just going to put a piece of paper in between there so it doesn't attach. This is the other side, or the top layer of those adhesive sheets. So this side is non-stick basically. Just putting that in there so the glue doesn't attach to our waterfall mechanism, otherwise it won't work anymore. And if you just ignore that piece of paper, this is what the inside looks then. As you can see, it's basically just corners. I really like to do that. And then this is just some of my stenciled coffee dyed paper. This comes from a Reader's Digest book on gardening that I have. So I really like using those little images. So that's it for this folio then. We'll move on to the next now. Next, we will be making a little pop-up house, and I added this page to the digital kit. We won't be using this one right now. You can use it wherever you want. It should fit onto one of the pages. It's about the same size. But I have a different plan for that for later in the journal if you would like to stick around and see what I have planned. But for now, these pieces are the ones we will use for the pop-up house that you would have seen at the start. I'm just going to cut them out. Alright, I've cut out all my little bits and pieces, so this is what I'll be using to decorate the house. And now we will be starting with the construction of the pop-up house. I did see this from another lady. Her name is Tonu Creative, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, so I will put her link in the description. This is the brick piece that I included in the page. I did make it a little bit bigger because everyone's printer settings are different and it prints different sizes sometimes. So this whole piece, and I'll be doing this in centimeters, should be 4.5, let me show you here, 4.5 centimeter by 12 centimeters. So it's that measurement that I put in that little block there. And then all this little edge pieces will be 0.5 centimeter. Then this one needs to be 3.5, 2.25, 3.5, 2.25 centimeters. Just so you know, and I did use my scoring board in one of my previous videos. I called it a scoring machine, so I'm so sorry about that, but it's my scoring board because these edges will be folded and you don't have to ink the inside of this. I just did it so that you could see where the lines are more easily, but it's only the outside that will be inked. So with that now being said, the next measurement we'll have to do, and this you do not have to use your scoring board for, is 1.75 millimeters. So I'm just going to speed up this part. So from here to here is 1.75 centimeters. I can't remember if I said millimeters or centimeters now, but it needs to be centimeters. I just quickly redid this. My measurements were off by 1 millimeter. So yes. Now, whatever this size is, you just need to divide it in half. And divide it in half for these two. So it needs to look like this. So these two will be the roof parts. Now I'm just going to cut off all the parts that I colored in, as well as these triangles here. Then it will look like this, and I'm going to cut through here, this little part here, and just cut off all the corners of my tabs. Now it should look something like this. And then I also inked the edges on the other side. If you do like to ink, it's easier to do it as you go than to try to do it afterwards. So now we're just going to glue this part, these two parts together so that the bricks are on the outside. Sorry, that didn't focus. Like this, so the bricks are on the outside. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to put my windows on. I'm not going to put my door on yet because I'm not sure which side is going to be in front, and it will be easier to glue these things on when it's not already standing up. I love this, it just looks so adorable. I'm going to glue these two parts together now. Sorry, those two parts. Right, I'm just going to set this aside for now. Next, we will be needing a piece that's this size, 4.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. And then you will also have to score at 0.5 centimeter here, here, and here. And then this length from this line to this line and this line to this line is 1.75 to 1.75 centimeters. If my process is too confusing, I understand. Just go to the link in the description. I used this small house and I just divided all the measurements by 2, so it could be extra small. So now with this, what we're going to do is we're going to cut these pieces off. I'll draw it out. So all the pieces that I have colored in, you'll need to cut off so that it looks like this. And then you'll just have to fold these pieces in. It'll also be helpful to use your bone folder here. So these two little ones need to go opposite directions, and then the two top ones need to go in opposite directions as well. Then we need to take our house and just draw straight lines down the middle. This will help us to place our roof. Then I'm going to add glue to this little part here. Then I'm going to attach it right on that line. And it's easier to do the one and then the other for me, but you can do them both at the same time if you want. I'm just gonna hold this for a second so you can dry. And then we need to do the other side. Also exactly on that line. I'm going to let it dry. It's becoming much more house-like now. Next, you're going to need your roof piece. So this one I also made bigger in the kit than it needs to be. The size it needs to be is 4 centimeters by 5.5 centimeters. So what I did, there is a line in the middle so that it's flipped, so that if you hold it like this, both of the tiles go down. I just went and found that line, and then that I just made that the center of my measurement. Then the same on this side, I wanted the roof to still be equal. So that's all you need to do. You can round these corners if you want. I'm not going to do that. All that I'll be doing now is I will be adding glue onto these tabs and then sticking this on like this. So this is, well, this is roughly what it will look like. Once again, I'm first going to do the one side and then the other side. Just going to let it dry. Now I'm just going to put some glue on that other little flap there. And then just now you can just push this whole thing flat, so it's just easier to put on there. And then I'm just going to hold this so that it can dry as well. I'm going to put my door on now. So I'm going to put my door on the side that this tab isn't. And then there's this tiny window that came with the door. So I've got one of that. And then I put 2 of those in the kit. And then with one, I just cut off the doors. So it's just a tinier window, and that I'll be putting above the door. So this is what it looks like. So like I said, this is on the side that the tab isn't. And on the other side, I just glued one more window. This one's slightly skewed. There we go. I just glued the other tiny window, then I've got my 2 windows on the side as well. I think it's adorable. When you fold these, that the 2 tabs are against each other, just make sure that they're the exact same size, that one doesn't overlap the other one. Now you will be needing a piece of paper. I did all of this on cardstock. Probably should have said that earlier, I'm sorry. And then this on cardstock as well. I will be putting it onto this page because I don't particularly like this image, and I'll probably put a piece of book page on the bottom as well. And then this will fold open and the house will pop up. So this is, I think, yeah, 3 by 4.5 inches. Now what we will do next is you need to hold it so it's like this, that the short tab is on the top. And then I'm going to add glue to those 2 tabs. Then you need to glue it down so that that edge perfectly aligns with your fold and that it is still centered, that the house is still centered. And put it right up to that fold. And then close it and leave it. So I need to put it under something heavy and then leave and go do something else. Otherwise I'll keep on trying to open it while it's drying, which is not good because then it just won't work anymore. I did it anyway, I opened it, but I had to know. So don't center it, put it more to the left because otherwise your house will not be centered, but make sure that it doesn't stick over this edge. So not quite where it was, but still in the borders. Now I'm going to leave it. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I just covered this page here, and then I also put a piece of ribbon down because I will be using a piece of ribbon to close the flap so it doesn't just pop open. And now I'm going to decorate this side of the page. So what I'm going to do is I have these 2 pieces. I'm just going to put that in the middle, but I will be gluing them only onto this side, not on this side, so they could both be tuck spots, and then I'll just be stamping a bit around. Okay, we're all done for today. So I like this ribbon here, but you can also put it a bit higher up. And then on the back, I just want to show you that this will be a tuck spot, this will be a tuck spot, and then I also made this one to be a tuck spot. I might fill this one, I might not, I might leave it for whoever gets the journal. And then this opens here, the reason I also like the ribbon is because it could also be a belly band to put something in. And then if we look at our house, I love that so much. I really, really like that. So there we can see our whole little house, then with our little window in the back. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know what you thought. As you could see, I also put as you could see in my fast forwarded video, I also put a little bit of writing space up here and down there. Please let me know what you guys thought of this and if you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it, and I love the little fairy house. And this is the first ever pop-up house I did, so I really like that. But please let me know what you think and if you're enjoying this so far. And if you're crafting along with me, I would love to see what you're making. I do have a Facebook group linked in my description. If anyone would be kind enough to share their creations with me, I would really enjoy that. And then I hope you all have a lovely day and a lovely weekend, and thank you for being here with me. God bless. Bye bye.